Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of SwingBadder. I'm always joined with my father. How you doing, Dad?
Great.
And my bestest brother, Todd. Just wanted everyone to know here in the state of Arizona, we have baseball going on. The weather is fantastic. Everybody's out enjoying the sun. And right off the bat, one of our favorite contracts ever, Mr. Chris Bryant. Did you guys see his first live at-bat?
No.
Well,
No.
It was an internal.
Was it in Arizona?
Of course.
Well, I didn't see
Rockies
it then.
are in Arizona.
Not that I'm watching the stuff in Florida, but...
Well, I mean, you should watch the Rockies. They are a contender to be out of the playoffs as the earliest contender for that.
A contender for what?
Getting mathematically eliminated the earliest. That's what they're a contender for. So Chris Bryant, who's never played for a loser, and that's still accurate because he has never played for the Rockies since he signed his deal, goes up to play, and he's facing real pitchers, real Rockies pitchers for the first time, and he gets plunked. And he just walks away. And I thought to myself, as I'm watching him walk away, like, how much does he hate this team? Like how the NBA stars are like, please trade me. I don't want to play anymore. I'm not going to show up. Baseball doesn't do that. But man, I think Chris would be one of those guys that's like, I'll take anything to get me off of the Rockies. Just get me on somebody who's not the Rockies. So
yeah, I don't blame him unless he got sent to the White Sox.
There are teams you do not want to be traded to in baseball. That is for sure.
No. Yeah.
But yeah, Chris Bryant started right off hot as can be. That is my fun spring training story for people who don't follow your Colorado Rockies, the future not playoff team.
Yeah.
Future not World Series contender. How many they play the Dodgers a couple times, so that's some wins for everybody. Everybody gets wins when you play the Rockies.
Oh. You think the Dodgers are going to be suffering? They're going to be like, oh, thank God the Rockies are in town. We can finally compete.
I have a question. Just count the four major sports because I don't follow Major League Soccer or cricket or any of those other things very well. But basketball, hockey, football, baseball, major leagues, which sport are you most likely to see people not even trying because they're not going to make the playoffs or they just don't like playing for the team? Which of those sports are you most likely to see players not even trying?
So I'll give you my list first because I'm rather opinionated. So I'm going to go the hardest to the least. So I will say the NHL is the hardest because if you're not trying, you're dying because they will clean you up if you're not trying really hard. So the NHL would be
except
number
if your name is Ovechkin.
Well, when you get older, they certainly help you out there. But the NHL, that would be my number one. And then you have football would be number two. Football number two, simply again, because if you're not trying, you're hurt. But again, there are certain positions and players that do and do not try. Baseball would be my third, and the NBA would be my fourth. I think the NBA has the least amount of triers in the league.
My top sport, where if you're out of it, you're not trying, is soccer. Because half those guys are barely trying anyway. Like when they flop, it doesn't even, like sometimes they can flop and be 10 feet away from the guy they're flopping on.
I think we all know what Todd's problem is. Listening is the problem. Soccer's not included.
What?
No, we're not counting soccer because I haven't watched it. I don't watch it.
He said four.
Oh, okay. So
then I gave you my top
number one
four.
is the NBA because you cannot try in the NBA and still make the playoffs. You have to reverse try. Like you have to purposely tank to not make the playoffs in the NBA because there's 14 playoffs and 10 championships. It's it's getting slightly more complicated than soccer. The one after that where you cannot play and you cannot try is baseball. And it's competing closely
with the NBA.
With the NBA, it's getting there. There are the DH and some position players They know who I'm talking about.
Yep. They get put there for a reason. I agree
Correct.
that so far we are agreeing the NBA then the MLB. Who is your top two are pretty who's your top one?
That you have to try every single time? I'd say the NHL. Just because you can bring in people from the AHL and they can replace you so easily.
They do bring that is true. You can bring kids up from the NFL practice squad, but they only
NHL.
do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're hurt, don't bring you from another league. And the players like MLB, you can bring them up because they're hurt. But again, no one's going to accuse them of not trying. The other thing that I always have thought about is, these guys always lay down to try to block shots. And I have yet to see a video of a guy skating where I would skate away from the shot. Like, oh, you're going to shoot it? I'm going to skate away.
I got to be honest with you. There are not enough pads on earth that you could wear in hockey to stand in front of a shot.
The other thing that people, again, I think everyone should try on the gear too, because the NFL gear also is not very large. I always thought the NFL gear had bigger, but they get smaller and smaller padding. But the NHL, nothing is in that skate. There's no padding. There's nothing. Like they do a slap shot and it hits you in either boot where your foot is.
Yeah.
It's brutal. And nobody is like, I don't want to get hit. Not to mention they all don't wear the full shield unless they break a jaw or something, and they have to. So yeah, there's your answers. I think Todd and I agree. You got NHL, NFL, MLB, and NBA, and I think there is a Grand Canyon between the top two and the bottom two. I think that's a fair statement. Like MLB isn't right there with the NFL, and the NFL isn't right there with the MLB. So it's like there's a huge canyon. So if you wanted to say no, the NBA is not as bad as the MLB, sure, have that debate. Or the NFL is better than the NHL, have that debate. But no one's going to put the MLB up with the NHL or NBA with the NHL.
No way. First of all, you can't wear enough cups in the MLB to simulate what happens in the NHL.
I agree with your order completely. I think that the most likely to not try would be the NBA. Then the second one most likely to not try would be baseball, then football and hockey. And the reason I approach this is a little bit different angle. Watch a guy get hurt and see if he comes back in the game. In baseball, if a guy gets hurt, he's gone. He's not coming back in the game. He may take a week off, okay? Because 162 games, and you want to get him ready for October or whatever.
Right.
And the NBA, the same thing. A guy gets hurt, and geez, he's going to miss 4 or 5 games because he's got sore muscles. Hockey's absurd. What those guys get hit and stitched up, and they come back in the same game. They keep coming back like they enjoy it. It's the efforts. I bet you're watching a little more hockey lately than I usually do. The efforts in professional hockey are ridiculously high level, and the amount of pain they're willing to play with is really admirable.
Yeah, by the by, that the Four Nations tournament was one of the best sporting events I've seen in a long time.
It's the first All-Star game I've seen in maybe 20 years.
But if you weren't from one of those 4 countries, and no Russian player played in the All-Star game. No. It was like, Four Nations, you're out.
They'll bring him in next year. Not that we're going to get
right
change some rules here or there. Totally agree. This is again, just watch the sports and see for yourself. The other thing that I would say is watch it live. I think the NFL has the same thing. They go in the tent, they shake off the trainers, and if you just said before the tent era, the amount of guys that would shake off trainers and say I don't want to be looked at, similar to the NHL, like just
what goes on in the tent.
I know it.
Every time they go in the tent, I want to know what goes on in there.
Is there an X-ray machine in there?
I don't know if there's an X-ray machine. Is it like because it's not because they have to take their pants off.
No, sometimes. they don't want anyone to know what kind of injury it is. It's the same. The other thing I will say, the league is brutal when they're really, really general with the injury. And if the NHL is the most general with injuries, lower body injury, upper body injury,
it's
they may be out for 4 to 6 weeks. And right before he comes back, they go, he broke his ankle and had surgery, but he's now a week away from coming back. They finally start to tell you what happened, because all they just say is, oh, he suffered an upper body injury. Then you watch it, you're like, did he break some part of his body? They won't say. They just say upper body, lower body. That's all you have to say in the NHL. Right. And the playoffs are the absolute craziest, because those guys play with all sorts of injuries and then the list comes out after the playoffs are over. It's astonishing.
But I will say, like, even MLB and the NBA, you get to the end of the playoffs and you hear guys are hobbled or they're playing injured or that type of thing. Like you always have that list.
Correct.
At the end of the playoffs. Like you always have like some list where things are like, you know.
The only difference with the NFL and the NHL and the other two leagues is, and you get to the end of the playoffs, and the NFL, you only have one game, one round. It's a 7-game series, where the MLB does not do this, but the NHL is like, you start with 7 games, and it is, you have to be physical to move on. So the amount of checks that you take to get to a Stanley Cup has got to be just tremendous. So it's not like Luka's getting fouled a lot in the NBA and made it to the finals.
Right.
He may have hurt himself, you're right, but he doesn't take it in strong to the lane, and Dennis Rodman is there to greet him every time. Like the NHL is like, hey, I just passed the puck, and some guy's going 35 miles an hour decides to light you up.
Did you see that? I think I sent you guys that Instagram or Twitter post about the guy who got slashed in the first period of the hockey game, and they put like 32 stitches in his lip. And then at the end of the game, they realized they had sewn up one of his teeth into his lip, and so they had to take the stitches out.
That was so ridiculous that I thought it was made up.
It was like
that wasn't made up?
No, it was true. And all I'm doing is thinking of Anthony Rendon, who somehow like burnt his fingers on hot buttered popcorn and like is out for 6 months.
Yeah, the NHL bleeds different. If you go to a live, if you go to a live game and then go to a live playoff game, they're just different. But it's just a good time. It's a good time, and the game is extremely fast paced as well. So NHL got a lot of fans. And
speaking of total hot garbage, so this was reported today. I hate harping on the White Sox, but it's a thing. So today, as of now, as of this recording, this spring, according to Dan Clark Sports, at Dan Clark Sports on Twitter, the White Sox are 0-5. They're the only team that has not won a spring training game. One could say they're mathematically eliminated. What do you think their team ERA is?
In the spring training, it can get pretty high.
Yeah.
I'm probably going to be low with a 5.5.
It's over that. Dad?
It's not a 10, is it?
It's below a 10.
We got it pinned in, Dad. I'll do a 7.5. I'll just put it right down the middle.
All right. You're close, but it's over that.
Oh, my Lord.
You're very close, though.
They're obviously pitching a bunch of kids who can't even make the team anyway. So.
This might be their best. They're at a 7.71 team ERA in these 5 games. Their team OPS, on base plus slugging in these 5 games, is 551. It's 551.
So you can't evaluate. If you play the White Sox in spring training, you can't evaluate your own team because it's not realistic. It's like you're on cheat mode in a video game. You're like, hey, man, well, he batted like 5. He went 3 for 4 every time we played the White Sox. So you don't want to play the White Sox a lot.
Today alone, they had 4 errors. Yeah. So defensively, they're not really even.
There's a special way, being a baseball fanatic, there's a special way to follow spring training that gives you some sense of reality. Number one is ignore your record. Okay. In the stuff you're talking about, Todd, you can pretty much ignore that stuff too. You take a look at a box score and you look at the pitchers used and ask yourself, which of these guys are even going to make the team, and see how those guys pitched. because there's going to be 6 or 7 guys, at least now when they're first starting out, who aren't even making a team. So if they give up 4 or 5 runs, it doesn't matter. Okay. And if you look at the batting lineup, the same thing. How many of these guys are not even going to make the team? So you only look for the guys who are actually going to be playing and see how they did in their 1 inning of pitching or their 1 at bat for the day. And that's the only thing you can draw out of it. Errors, runs, stuff like that, it means nothing.
Would you be for only giving numbers to players that have a chance of making it, and then giving letters to players who have no chance of making it? So when you're watching the game, you're like, "Hey, this is A. A is up. The letter A."
Well,
but did you see Juan Soto showed up to Mets spring training, and Brett Beatty is traditionally number 22. So Juan Soto asked for the number. He, of course, gave it to him.
I did see this.
But in return, Juan Soto bought Brett Beatty a new car because Brett Beatty had been driving around a 4Runner since 2016 at 150,000 miles.
Great car.
The joke is on Brett Beatty because Juan Soto just hired him as his driver.
I will say this. The people who were talking about Juan Soto looking bad when he signed the Mets deal, the dude came into camp in shape.
He came to rake.
He is trimmed up. When he walked out to give that truck to good old Brett, that uniform was not sagging. Was not. You didn't have to worry about a Cecil Fielder repeat.
Yep.
He was trimmed up and ready to rock and roll, and he has been rocking and rolling for the Mets. Again, every time we want to talk about the Mets signing Mr. Soto, I'm sure everything about that makes you happy.
$250 million. Well, it's got to, because right now there are 29 teams in spring training that don't have injuries, and there's one team that has 3. Mets training staff once again came to play. We've lost 2 starting pitchers and an infielder.
And a partridge and a pear tree.
Part of spring training is players are going to get hurt. The question is, are they going to be able to start the season, or is it going to delay their start of the season? That becomes more problematic.
It's delaying their season. It's already been established.
Is it a lower body injury, or is it an upper body injury?
It is the whole system.
So is the Mets training staff at this point, are they notorious? Is this just like the biggest running joke in New York? Because the Yankees don't have this problem.
Well, some of them are freak injuries, but I just feel like the Mets training staff, it hurts pitchers. I don't know why. It's like they go out to just damage pitchers.
They're like, this is what we do for stretching, and it's not stretching at all. We have you do something nutty. Speaking of old Mets and good Mets, Todd, how is our good old? Let's talk about where is all the money coming in at? Because in baseball, for those that don't know, baseball allows players to collect money from multiple teams in 1 year, and we have certain players that are on our list. And one player we follow pretty religiously is Mr. Max Scherzer.
That's right.
Where did he go to in the offseason, and who's paying all the bills?
Max Scherzer, in the offseason, he went to, here, let me bring this up here.
Who was he playing for last year, for those that don't recall?
Last year, Max Scherzer played for the Texas Rangers.
There you go.
And you're thinking to yourself, well, maybe there's a deferred contract with the Texas Rangers, who picked him up after they traded for him from the Mets. And maybe there's no. You see by this graphic here, this year, the Blue Jays are going to pay Max Scherzer $15.5 million. The Nationals are paying Max Scherzer $45.5 million until 2027.
That's over the course of those years. You're saying that every year?
It appears it's every year.
So again,
no, maybe that might be maybe that's cumulative. I don't know. I got to ask this BSBLR baseballer. And then the Dodgers in 2028, because they don't want to miss out, are going to pay him $15 million.
But not this year. They're paying him in 2028.
No, in 2028.
Well, I mean, if any
some date in the future, the Dodgers' deferred payments are coming due.
Dad, they're going to defer him to 2050. They're going to keep deferring him. Like they're going to be paying for teams. They'll be the best. They'll have a team in 2035 that payroll will hit in 2050, unless baseball changes the rules. Which baseball should change the rules.
I just find it interesting that Max's full name is Max Million. So he's doing okay for himself.
He's done very well for himself.
Yeah. I mean, he's as far as businesses are concerned, I mean, this is as good as it gets.
Well, I will tell you this about Max. He's on the right team with the right players because Vlad Guerrero Jr. did not sign a deal. So he will be entering free agency. So Vlad, get a locker next to Max and talk to him about how to manage deals with multiple teams. You will be very happy in your life if you just pick his brain for a bit. Don't hate the player. Hate the game. Vlad Guerrero Jr., talk to Max. You got him all year. You can pick his brain about how to get such a wonderful deal. Because hats off to you, Max. We don't hate the player. Max, we're very proud of you. And this is a fantastic
he's getting
deal.
$15 million a year from the Nationals.
So that's good. So
for the next 45 years.
No, he gets 30 this year. Then next
he's
year.
Getting 30 this year.
Yeah, so next year he's got to sign with somebody.
Well, it's important because now he's in Toronto, and so he's going to have to make it Canadian dollars.
Is this what a financial planner calls diversification?
This is exactly what we call it. This is where you take all your investments, you spread them out over several different payment systems, and so.
Except these people are paying him instead of him distributing money.
You don't know. You
have several streams of income.
His wife, his children. We don't know who he's paying. You don't know who's in that deal. To get Max Scherzer, you may have to pay other people in his entourage.
What's remarkable to me is he's represented by Scott Boras, and Scott Boras is able to get this deal for this guy, yet can't get other people signed for anything.
I think it's in the name. Dad said it right. The name, Maximilian. When you see that, you're just like, well, he's got to be worth it.
You're sucked in.
You brought the Texas Rangers. It makes me want to do a check-in. Is the old Met guy going to pitch this year, or is he already hurt?
DeGrom?
Yeah.
DeGrom's pitching.
Hey, there you go, Texas.
He's finally get spring
that
training.
Player. You finally get that guy you signed 3 years ago, 2 years ago.
Maybe. Hey, you want to hear something else? Get this. Who are the two highest paid players for the Washington Nationals this year?
Well,
so obviously Scherzer's one of them.
Scherzer is one.
And if you're going to stick with the theme, because we don't bring up Batter Sports topics without Batter Sports money. So you would say, we know Harper left them to sign a deal, so he didn't leave them for a trade. So it's not him, but it's probably someone for is Corbin still? Did they release Corbin? Are they still playing him? He's the worst pitcher to ever win a World Series after he signed that deal.
I don't think. Well, it's not Corbin.
Ooh, I wonder if he's still pitching.
Is it Rendon?
It is not Rendon.
No, he left for free agency. But unlike Harper, he's not playing. God, man, can you imagine how much
you ready for this?
Hate him?
I can't wait.
Here it comes.
It's got to be a good guy.
Steven Strasburg's getting $23.6 million. He retired in 2024.
That's a great pitching staff.
It is.
5 years ago, it's really money.
You see, I was under the misunderstanding that when you retired, they stopped paying you.
Yeah, you work for companies, Dad. You don't work for baseball teams. You got to work for baseball teams.
So if I'm working for the power company and I decide to retire,
bad idea.
I can't get my salary anymore. No,
depends on if they give you a buyout.
Did you get electrocuted on the last year to force you in retirement? Then you'll be on this list.
Here's my thing. Washington's paying these guys out. They don't work there anymore. This is like everybody in Washington. Wait until Doge gets a hold of the Nationals.
Musk should go after the Nationals.
The Nationals are a mere mere reflection of our government agencies.
Can you imagine if they sent that to the Washington Nationals? Please provide 5 bullet points on how you've contributed to the team, or we'll consider you fired. And Strasburg and Scherzer are like, we don't even have team emails anymore. What are you talking about?
They should make them keep an email. They have to keep going. They don't even make him come in and be a consultant to help with the pitching staff to address.
While he's playing for the Blue Jays, I guess Strasburg's got to show up in spring training and power.
So is that like a good way to launder money? So say you do a drug deal and you make $1 million and you can just say, I got it from the Nationals. I don't have to work to get paid by them.
Yeah, well, you know.
So they don't have a single player making $15.5 million this year.
Who on that team would you pay $15 million to?
So they didn't rake over free agency. They're not the Dodgers.
No.
They're not the Yankees, and they're not the Mets.
Was it the Marlins who didn't spend any money in free agency?
I believe that's correct.
Did not spend a dime.
Sometimes when you go to the bank account, you look at your checking account, and you look at your savings account, then you go, what are we doing this year? Holding. That GM, they kept the GM. What did the GM do? Just field calls? I'm really interested. Click. I'm really interested. Click.
Yeah.
I'm maybe interested in this. Click.
Call the Sacramento A's if you want to get paid.
Yeah. X, Y, or Z, right?
Hey. I read an article that said Sacramento A's going to make the playoffs this year. I didn't buy it, but it's interesting they were mentioned.
Well, you need a consolation prize in that division.
I guess somebody wanted to get some clicks.
So you're going to beat the Angels. You're going to beat the Angels.
Well, you still got to beat out.
If you play for the Angels, do you get season tickets for the Dodgers?
Seattle. What's that?
Do you get season tickets for the Dodgers if you play for the Angels? Is that a perk? You get to go watch the Dodgers. Like the Angels are like, can I get a suite at Dodger Stadium? I don't want a suite at my stadium. I want a suite for my family to watch the Dodgers.
Good God.
Brendan, when you said when you went to the COVID World Series.
COVID World Series, great World Series in Dallas, Texas, between the Tampa Bay Rays and the Los Angeles Dodgers.
You sat next to Dustin May's family?
I did. His parents were lovely, super stoked to have the Dodgers. Oh, wait, nope. The Dodgers lost that game. I went to the amazing one, the one that the Tampa Bay came back, and that was fantastic.
Last year, Dustin May missed the season because he ate a salad.
There's protein.
Give me the subtleties of this. Number one, you're an athlete. I get it. You got to eat a salad. Other than that, why?
My wife got food poisoning eating a salad from the airport.
Yep.
But she didn't miss the whole season.
There's so many problems there. Why is mom eating a salad from the airport?
What's in that salad that could this?
The weirdest part about this story in my short research of it was that it was a piece of iceberg lettuce that apparently cut him.
Cut his trachea.
Which means he
eats
esophagus. Salad the way most men do. They shovel it in to get to the protein.
Correct.
They're like,
it's accompanying the bacon I put on it.
You have to eat this salad to get to the next level of the game, which is real food. So men eat it so fast, he endangered himself.
So he forgot to chew.
This could have been a tragic story because apparently it was so bad that he could have died.
Holy criminals.
Can you, of all the
I can't even imagine what that would have been. That would have been it. It's a crazy.
I only eat salad if I'm hungry and it's got
right there. Just stop it. I only eat salad. There it is. Todd's a vegan. There we go, everybody. That's all he does is eat salad. You want to look like Todd? Only eat salads.
No.
I thought you were going to say I only eat salads around friends in case this happens. They can save me.
I can pretty well guarantee if you go to see and I've only been to one, I think, in my life, a professional hockey game from National Hockey League, that they don't have a salad bar.
No.
That's not one of the snacks you can get.
No, in fact, me and your grandson were in Pittsburgh this last weekend.
There's a good place to eat salads.
We were seeing our first hockey game in Pittsburgh. So we're at PPG Arena, a great arena, great place to watch a hockey game. And the first, here, let me see if I can bring this up. The first food thing we see was not salad.
Salad to go?
It was not, had nothing to do with salad.
It had to do with some kind of meat and cheese on top.
It was, let me bring this up here.
Poutine?
It was not poutine. It was it was what we refer to as the Polish Hill Grill, and it included pierogies and sausage.
Okay.
So there you go. The Polish Hill Grill, pierogies and sausage, and soda and beer. That was it. That was the first. And you can see on the side, you've also got cheesesteak pierogies, kielbasa, loaded Italian sausage.
No salads.
No salads. Not a piece of lettuce to be seen within the place.
So I'm guessing you'd have to get a doctor's note about all of this stuff that happened, because it sounds it's an unbelievable story. It doesn't even make sense. Like, I read it several times repeatedly, because again, to have an iceberg lettuce cut internally, not your cheek, not your tongue, because you're chewing too fast. And actually, as he swallowed it, cut his esophagus, which is crazy.
So next time your significant other wants you to eat healthy, and starts to talk about eating salad, you can tell her you can't eat salad because it might slice your throat up.
Why are you
very
killing
dangerous.
me?
Yep.
Why are you killing me?
Why
with
are you
salad?
killing me, Mom?
I want that sausage pierogi instead.
Because of the insurance package you just had. Yes, but his family was great. They were very lovely, even though they were very, very upset when they lost to Tampa in that wonderful game. They won the series. They've gone on to win more. And the Dodgers are fully loaded, and he's back pitching, and he looks great. He looks great in spring training, by the way.
Yep.
Hair flowing, throwing strikes, high velocity.
Speaking of hair flowing, get this. I saw this. This blew my mind. Number one, you don't think about, like, nobody today pitches 100 pitches in a game. Or they get to 100 pitches, they pull them.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. You have Paul Skeens, like that guy wanted to go 140 pitches, and they wouldn't let him go past 90.
I think at 110, it's considered like child abuse to let a pitcher pitch longer.
Right. When was the last time a pitcher pitched 100 strikes in a game?
Well, we know Nolan Ryan did it.
Several times.
Probably multiple times.
He probably pitched 150 strikes in a game, if we're being honest.
Right.
So that would be
he probably also pitched 150 balls in that same game.
So you got to go back before they were all crazy about pitch counts. Who is the guy? Who threw 100 strikes? You're saying 100 strikes, right? Not
100 strikes in one game, not pitches, strikes. Randall Bird Killer Johnson.
2002. That makes sense.
Thank you to Around the Diamond Media for that one.
2002, Randy Johnson. Randy Johnson makes sense that he would throw 100 strikes. How many pitches did he throw in that game? Was it 130, 140? And was it
if I knew the date, I could find the game. But 2002 is the year after they won the World Series.
Yep.
So
that's the last. So who would be the pitcher that you could see doing that today? You know who else I would have thought? I would have thought was the Yankee pitcher, CC. He was known for throwing a lot of pitches, if I remember correctly. I'm trying to think pitchers that were long in the tooth on pitches. CC was, am I remembering?
Pretty hard to find today.
I know, but I'm just saying between 2002 and today, Dad, there's lots of pitchers that you would have been like, oh, maybe that guy.
I'm going to go back to the Paul Skeens thing. I think Paul Skeens could do it.
For the Pirates?
Yeah, they won't let him, though.
No, they won't. I mean, I don't know why you wouldn't let him. I mean, the Dodgers are going to sign him in 4 years.
The thing is, though, we live in such stupid times. Every year now, we read about a guy who's pitching a no-hitter and they take him out because he hits this pitch count. He has a chance for baseball history and they take him out because he's at 105 pitches or something. And the relievers come in and blow it. But that happens 2 or 3 times every year, it seems.
Randy Johnson threw a perfect game and threw 117 pitches. And in that perfect game, 87 of those were strikes.
Wow.
So
he was hot that day.
I was thinking about Nolan Ryan because I mentioned him earlier. Mm-hmm. So I asked good old Google, good old AI, how many pitches were the most that Nolan Ryan pitched in a game? And you have to go back, 1974, 200.
I knew it was over 200.
235 pitches in a 13-inning game.
Yeah.
And I believe he pitched into his 40s, if I'm not mistaken.
And you can bet 4 days later he was starting again.
Oh, yeah. But I mean, we were Diamondback fans, and we talked about Max earlier on the episode. Max was a guy that the Diamondbacks let go away because they're like, he's going to hurt his shoulder with his throwing motion. And that guy has knock on wood, he's never done it. He's been healthy his whole career. He's had a hell of a career. He's had some leg problems, but he's never had the issues with the arms that the Diamondbacks thought he was.
In 1992, Randy Johnson struck out 18 batters in 8 innings.
Jeez.
He threw 160 pitches. It's a different time.
160 pitches. So he was at 100 in what, the 6th inning? 5th inning?
At least. 5th, 6th, yeah. It just kept going.
60 pitches. I mean, 18 strikeouts. Yeah, but nobody wants, don't even think about the stats like that anymore. So just so everyone remembers, if you want to fix baseball playoffs, we need more 7-game series. Do what the NHL does. Let's watch all the players. Good little history nugget there, Todd, for all the listeners.
I like history nuggets.
So the final topic that I have is this rule to protect the players. And again, we started earlier with which leagues try the hardest. And baseball didn't make it. They're on the other side of the Grand Canyon. So baseball, in their wisdom, has decided to make rules to make sure players still don't try that hard. Blocking the bag on a stolen base attempt. I have watched some of the spring training players get called safe for what I would call is a very harmless tag.
Yeah.
Normal in all cases, everything you've trained to be as a baseball player to position yourself to catch the ball. So now the players cannot be in the walkway, the pathway, the running way of the base runner going to second or third. You have to be out of that to make that tag, which I think is terrible. It looks terrible. It's very dumb. I watched a guy get called safe in the Mets game here recently. He was out by a mile.
Oh, yeah.
And they called him safe because Lindor, I guess his foot was in his way in some crazy world. Like he can't move it out of the way in time after he places the tag. Who made this crazy rule and why is baseball? When are we going to get to the point like icing? The ball reaches second before the player did, so he's out. Like this rule is terrible.
I don't know who they're protecting with this rule. Like
that is exactly my thought because the player just no longer slide into second. They have a mitten covered hand. That's the only thing that's reached out. I don't know who you're protecting.
What they should do is make second base even like an inflatable bounce house. And then they should say, for you, you cannot in any way prevent them from looking at the bounce house. So I think this year, what they really want is they want Shohei Ohtani to steal 100 bases. That's what this comes down to.
Yeah. As I was going to say, they just invite people to go to second base and call it a stolen base. And even then, they won't beat Ricky Henderson.
Right. No, Ricky Henderson with these rules. Ricky Henderson with these rules would have stolen 250 bases a season.
You can't throw over anymore. The bases are bigger. Now the second baseman or shortstop has to position. So what I would do is, how would you do this? So I would train my player. This is how I would do it to discourage players from stealing. I would train them to be behind the base. I'd let the ball carry through the base. So if it's timed right, you hit the player with the ball. So then I would.
This goes back to our hockey thing. So now only hockey players will steal second.
So instead of in front of second, because the player's catching it and then going to get them out, it's hard to gauge if you're on the base path if you're in front of the base. And if the throw takes you into the player, you're trying to catch the ball. You're not trying to avoid the path of the player. If you're behind the base, you can still catch the ball and manage being out of the pathway, but the ball can hit the player. Now the player can get hit in the face, in the shoulder, in the arm, in the gut, anywhere, and the mitten, hit the mitten. But that way, that's how I would train my players. I'm sure baseball's not doing that, but I don't know how you we're talking about great fielders here. Lindor did this play, and I'm telling you, everything was textbook perfect.
He could have gone around Lindor.
Oh, yes.
There was nothing like preventing him from getting to the bag.
Yeah, we literally have taken away the human. How do we create a process that takes away any human creativity?
It's not like the catcher. I could understand the catcher thing. I could understand it. I didn't like it. I could understand it.
But then you have players jumping over the catcher. You have all this other stuff. Now you're just like, oh, he was in my way, so you're safe. So you're going to go to a playoff game. You're going to go to a playoff game. And they're going to challenge if the pathway was clear.
Yeah.
So an out turns into not an out. So the team's excited about, hey, we got an out, to now you got a guy on second. Who's the winning run? And then every fan's going to go, this is stupid.
It's so dumb. Because
you should be able to get the guy out however you want to. Like my favorite tags are the ones on the head. Just catch it, pop them right in the head.
You were tagged on the head several times as a child.
That's how I got to be.
By me and Kyle.
Where I am.
Playing run the bases because we would block the base and tag you in the head.
So somebody in baseball decided that they needed more rules, so they created a rule. To your point, is it for the 100 stolen bases for Ohtani?
There comes a point where you need to stop. Just because it's the off season and you're having a meeting doesn't mean you need a rule.
But Todd, I go back to how you get that new job. You're a manager for the first time, and you're like, I got to make an impact. These are guys who are at this team meeting for the first time, and they go, I got to make an impact. I got to show people that I was here.
Nobody wants your impact.
They do that whole thing where they spray their mouth, witness me. Look what I did. Oh, and then everyone can hate you. But this rule, if you're reading any rule, who's a big guy? I was thinking a big guy has a bigger path, a bigger lane to steal. Might as well.
Ohtani's huge.
No. Like remember when Cecil Fielder?
What did? Oh yeah.
Yeah, like a nice big guy who's decided, your boy at first there for the Mets. He's in my pathway.
Pete Alonso did not lose weight in the offseason. Yeah, I'm a Mets fan, and I got to tell you something. Yeah, bro was not sitting around. Like, I love him though.
So why wouldn't you attempt to steal? If
everybody should be stealing. Everybody should be stealing.
If you're in the pathway and the way that they're calling it is so
they can only throw over twice. Like the base is huge. They can't stand in your way.
The base is huge.
And all you have to do is take 1 foot. You take one foot goes in the way. If you're catching the ball, that's why you have to stand behind the bag. So you never get in that pathway.
Between the base being larger and the mitten they allow you to wear, you're picking up about 6 or 7 inches.
Yeah.
On what really it is.
What they need to do next year is they need to have somebody go up there and say, we have an easy bake oven. At first base, you have to make a little easy bake oven cookies with that mitten, and then you can steal. Once you make those cookies, you got to serve it to the umpire. So the umpires unions are like, this is great. Our guy gets cookies. The guy who makes the mitten is like, this is wonderful. My mitten's going to be used in oven requirements. My specifications for the oven mitten has to be higher now because it's going to deal with high temperatures. Can't have the thumb. You just have to place the mitten with your paw. It's a dumb rule. Baseball, it's a dumb rule. It's going to bite him.
Yeah.
That was my last topic, other than ESPN decided to not do Sunday Night Baseball anymore. But that's more having to do with all the money they're spending on the other leagues, I think, than it is on baseball.
Yeah.
What are we going to do on Sunday night? Watch Lifetime movies?
I'm sure they're going to play soccer.
Wait, somebody's going to have Sunday Night Baseball.
I'm streaming. Everything's going streaming, but baseball does need to fix their TV problem. Their local blackouts and things of that nature needs that again, things that won't get fixed because the money's in the TV markets and yada, 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 yada. But streaming should help repair a lot of this. Streaming deals, this is where sports is going.
Yep.
Everything's going to be streaming. Everyone's going to have to spend as much as they did on cable, if not more.
Yeah.
That's just where we are going.
I hear you.
Dad, any last topics that you wanted us to cover that are
just
floating around your
remember
head?
my rule about following spring training. Injuries that delay the start of the year are serious. Very little else is serious on a spring training game.
Yeah.
The delay of the season is bad because they got to spend a month in the minors getting ready for the season.
Yeah.
So it's not like they're better and then they can just come up to the majors.
Yeah.
That's the difference between the NBA and other leagues, I would say. Todd, any last topics for the lovely audience of SwingBadder family?
Listen, I just want everybody to remember, if at any point somebody emails you and they want 5 bullet points from you, just answer the email and shut up.
5 bullets.
5 bullet points. That's it. What'd you do?
We
I
had
made a
more than-
rule that you can't block second base on a steal, and I instituted robot umpires. Do I need to talk about the other 3?
And for those of you who have never watched us before, we used to have 5 people, but 2 of them didn't answer the emails.
We have a lot less topics to cover. A lot less circular habits. Well, thanks everyone for joining us at SwingBadder. I am your host, Brendan. That is my father. That's my brother, Todd. Don't forget to subscribe and to like, and feel free to comment with your opinions or your thoughts. Obviously, Max getting paid millions from lots of people. Chris Bryant getting plunked to Dustin May, almost passing away from the attack of a salad. So don't eat salad while watching baseball, folks. Tell your spouse it's not healthy. And that is our show, everybody.
Stick with the fried foods.
Yep.
Yeah.
Can't go wrong with that. All right, everybody. Have a great night.
Yep,
Bye.
bye.